Yes, we can hear you now, doctor. Good afternoon. There is one thing that is worse to talk about something after barbecue, which is to talk about after dinner, the farewell dinner. That's for sure that nobody attends those dinners, so I want to thank you for having come here to this talk. The role of flour in an ideal diet, apart from the preparation of food, I decided to read this book. It's the bread book. It's one of those books that are going around that questions the role of flour in human diet. And I found a book that, for me, it's inspiring. The book is a model. It's a model of how I can take a group of ideas, combine in a certain way that I come to a conclusion that is completely false and fake. But it may seem that to people that is a conclusion that is so true. So I'm going to show only a few of the first pages. I underlined it because that's the way I started underlining it for me, and then I decided to share it with you. The role of communication about flour in the ideal diet. This book is a bestseller in the New York Times. It says that consuming flour produces HADD, migraines, depression, diabetes, epilepsy, arthritis, insomnia, intestinal problems, overweight, cognitive disorders, Alzheimer, Tourette's, and many more. Schizophrenia, not sexual impotence, however. Impotence and several other pests that, for me, really, we think, come on, how come nobody figured that out? How come that nobody knew that this could happen? It's amazing. So I started to say, okay, headaches, depression, epilepsy, anxiety, that could be in the food you eat, and I classify the phrases. He says that brain dysfunction starts with bread every day, and I'm going to show you. Modern cereals are silently destroying your brain. It is very attractive. I put a T because it's the terrorist idea, I think. In a way, people, when they lose the attractiveness to religions, they start believing in some other things and they join other tribes. It says that the main food groups are a terrorist group, and it's going to show that fruits and other carbohydrates produce chaos in the brain, and it makes you age faster. It's not documented. We don't know by whom, but according to them, this is documented. This book is going to change the game. It's like a bomb. So here again, we see how these all produce motor disorders, schizophrenia, severe decline in cognitive functions. It's amazing that you have to know what people say, what makes the heart of people, what reaches people's hearts, and maybe you are interested because you're working with this product that produces all these things. So apparently these are conspiracy theories, believing that they are nutritional foods. So food has produced obesity epidemics, diabetes epidemics. Of course, there has been a deregulation. There have been things that happened that made it possible for humanity to eat more and forget about human beings. We have more than 500,000 people in the world that had overweight, and 800,000 people that have malnutrition. But they have gone way overboard. It says there is no doubt that there is one of the events that is most serious and most and that has reached a lot of people in history. Then it says there is no doubt, and honestly, there is a doubt. This has no evidence. This statement has no evidence. This book is for everybody. Gluten is a silent germ because it makes damages, again, terrorism. the deceit of the industry and conspiracy theories. So when does all this ideology begin? One day in the morning, without any evidence, somebody writes a book or goes online and starts telling people things. This is 1864. The first book that says we have to eat without carbs. 1864, Banting diet. And that's when it all started. There are 3 micronutrients: carbs, proteins, and fats. We can combine them in a different way, and there is no way of having another combination than increasing one and lowering another. So what we've been doing these years is to increase one group more and decrease another one. And in the morning you get up and you say, okay, I have the combination, but all the combinations already exist. You only have 3 players, proteins, carbs, and fats. So you can have 25, 45, 30, 52, 35, 13. All the combinations have been already invented, but people still consume all of them. And this is the Banting copies. All these diets, the paleo diets, based on this evil that is carbs, and then those diets against non-transgenic, non-natural, not organic. So nowadays, there are still so many others: meat, dairy, transgenic, non-organic, non-natural, canned, unprocessed. Chicken without hormones. You can't consume preservative and no contaminants. So then you can eat nothing basically. Water is processed because it went through some sort of process. So there is people is being crushed by all of these publications and that have appeared and that will continue to appear. And what are the consequences of all this? So there are some people that are dairy vegetarian, vegans, ultra vegans. These diets may be healthy. The problem, however, is when these people do not only follow their diet, but they want everybody to follow their diet. In yellow, the ones that are complicated: paleolithic, organic, red brain, macrobiotics, then these ideas are overvalued. And then the ones that eat shakes, the one that eats everything raw, or the fruitarians. And then the orthorexics that have a personalized restriction. So you can go from entertainment to philosophy to overvaluing and to a fanatism. Fanatism can make people do crazy things. In France, vegans attack butchers. In the past, there were crusades, religious wars. Now they attack butchers. Bakeries are still okay. Don't worry. The attitude toward food. So here I put the players. So there are those beliefs. There is creative ignorance. One person is more creative as the most ignorant he or she is. They said, oh, I invented this chair. And then they say, okay, it's already been invented, but no problem. I invented it. Then the charlatans. They think that they have a diploma and they can talk. So they're charlatans and they speak more than they should, like this one. Or healers, those that heal people without having the right information and no training whatsoever. Then you have the content. The ones that spread the news, they're innocent, but they transmit all this information that is flawed. Public, which is uninformed, intoxicated, and avid. And so now you have these cults with the different dietary tribes. And the ones that get benefited are the ones that create the products that sell more, and those that feel the bad part of it. They're confused, the ones that produce products that are being attacked. So there is a lot of confusion. Nobody does anything. Education doesn't do anything. There are different things. The industry has to certify that everything that they say is true. They have to label their products and get approval, and that's fine. But anyone can say absolutely anything about any food product, and that doesn't mean that it's being limited, and that's not okay. Diets can build health or illness, and if I give someone the wrong information about food and people believe in that, that is very detrimental to health. Judgment errors. We have science, which is the understanding of reality based on research and empiric experimentation. Then we have pseudosciences, which is a fact presented as scientific, but it doesn't follow any valid method and cannot be tested, like astrology. Then you have the anti-science, critical attitude against science and the scientific method. Those who say, for example, that the world is flat. Then biased, those that say that it's biased, and fundamentalism, which is an exaggeration of the bias. That's exactly what we're undergoing right now, an exaggeration of an idea that at a certain time you wonder, if you see the type of ideas behind all of these, what is an overvalued idea? An obsession, a delusion, or a mythomania? A delusional thing is something that you believe. People are not lying. They have an idea that their idea is above all other ideas. It doesn't matter that they don't have any fundamentals. It's absolute logic. They really grab these ideas and they stick with them. And they also have pathological jealousy. This is seen in diets, in food, in soccer, in politics, in religion. So what is the role of flours in all of this? They're cereals, preferably in whole wheat, that are healthy. They could be side dishes. To talk about quantity, they could be refined, and it can provide pleasure. I eat ravioli every Sunday because that's what I've done forever. It has carbs, proteins, fats, fiber, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, and they help control diabetes. You have all the publications that they help control diabetes, stroke, cardiovascular disease, cancer, and it reduces mortality, consuming especially whole wheat cereal. What does nutrition say? Nutrition says that, well, this is the composition of flour. This is the composition of whole wheat flour and their normal regular flour, enriched, of course, different proteins and vitamins and minerals. But this here is the consumption of whole grain intake and all the mortality reasons, and how it reduces as the mortality rate reduces as you consume more whole grain. And the more you consume it, then the mortality for cancer, the cancer mortality is decreased as well. Do flours get people sick? Of course. Some people are celiac, 1% of the population. Gluten sensitivity to people that are not celiac are just people that sometimes consume gluten. It could be between 0.35, I put 0.6% of population. And then allergy to wheat, which could be 1%, and in total is about 8%. More than 90% of people can consume wheat without that affecting their health, apart from their beliefs. So what about the reality? This is interesting because it's something that I studied and with the people around me that work with me, and doing research with people who know how to search in the bibliography and in the literature. If flour is so bad, those countries that consume more flour should have low life expectancy, and the other way around. So what I found was, for me, it was very hard to find this information. This information, I started building it manually with everything that I collected, and with contradictory data. Japan, it's true, they have a life expectancy, this average, 85 years of age. This is the average. And with consumption, flour consumption, 30 kilograms. Australia, 62. Canada, 60 kilograms a year. US, 62 kilograms. Germany, 120. And what's interesting in the US, among the contradictory data that's where I got the data, they produce more bread than flour, which is not that crazy. Chile, 112. with 80 years of age in life expectancy. Argentina, 76.9, 88 kilograms. And Turkey, 157, 76 years of age. These are the 51 countries on the list that have the largest, the longest life expectancy. And then you have others with lowest numbers in life expectancy, above 50 in the position. Thailand, that has a life expectancy of 75 with 12 kilograms. Indonesia, 19 kilograms, low expectancy. Philippines, 17, very little flour, but they die before. So it doesn't resist the scientific studies or the reality of what's happening in the countries. So this is a piece of information that should exist. And the same way I went into the WHO and found the life expectancy for all countries, I should go into FOA and say, okay, how much bread, how much flour and flour percentage is consumed in each one, how much is used for human consumption. So I'm giving you this raw data, and I'm sure all this information can be found, but it's the best I could do over the last days when I got obsessed to find this kind of information. So what do the authorities in nutrition recommend in all the countries, people who study about this? So the food guidelines. In Japan, cereals. In Germany, cereals. France, cereals. The ones in China, Australia. In Chile, they place cereals. Paraguay, Canada, also cereals. Argentina puts cereals. We use this little house. For those of us who don't know me, because they come from other countries, I am linked with a huge network of healthcare, hospitals, and we use this little house where we have all the elements, and of course there is fruit, vegetables, legumes, and all of them as part of the safety diets. So no countries in the world put them aside. And what has the most effective and positive attitude towards that is the Dutch diet together with the Mediterranean diet. Fruit, cereals, legumes, dry fruit, fish, sea fish, olive oil. If you consume reasonably, then it's good. It's not that good, and a few red meats. This is the most effective one to the health. What don't we have to do to especially counteract those ideologies that you can all eat whatever you want, but they don't have the right to say that everybody must eat what you want them to eat or what you think others should eat? What shouldn't we do? We cannot try to change and saying to them, you are wrong. Today, this is a place where there can be critical reasoning, and I know that here I can tell you why this is not happening, but I would never use this in other contexts. So if you say flour is bad, people will believe anything. Well, they will believe that. The Germany officer says, lie and lie, something will stick into their heads. So it's like that belief is stronger, imprinted in people's brains, taking into account what to decide. I have to know that the analytics, the scientific evaluation, the people who work with data, and the intuitive evaluation, people who only want to repeat what sounds familiar, what's in red, what's easy to access, if it's comfortable for its beliefs, they continue reading. If not, it's not. It's easy to digest, and it's very easy. It's like pictures and anecdotes, easy to believe. But in the analytical evaluation, we use data, we advance investigation. The facts associate themselves, and the source has to be reliable. A book is not reliable. The papers are reliable. Journals with peer reviews are reliable. And what are the things that we could do? Out of my experience in communication and the public office that I also worked at, and We have to have information, mass communication, language in a familiar language, based on a varied diet, a diet that has the most variety of products. That means that they won't prohibit any type of food line. It's a combination of all the food products that will work. It has to cover scientific content to those who can focus the food topics in a rational way. Creative marketing for the rest of the population. I'm going to give some examples. Presentations and novelty combinations, like the president of the Brazilian Association presented, and to have active zero response to misinformation. These people do not have a critical judgment, so you cannot argue with a bully or a hooligan or somebody with a scientific method, because it doesn't work. We have to work with education. You don't change this from one day to the next. So we have to do this in schools, in universities, in governmental organization, and to do marketing. Why don't we use what we know? If a tiger is attractive, let's give them a pear, for instance. Let's dress him with a pear in their hand. So people do not use reason, they use their emotions. Here we have cigarette in the 40s and 50s, like energizing, approved by children, good for women, no blame after sex, self-trust, and manly. This is what people bought when they were trying to, and this is the thing that killed the most number of people. And we have to fight in the same way. This milk campaign went to fight again the same way Coca-Cola fought, with a sexy image. Positive or negative marketing, here Coca-Cola is good, but milk is also good. If I want to say the negative image, I have the dairy products together with toilet paper. It's very creative. And you can't refuse that. I mean, you have to be creative. So Coca-Cola had great presence in daily life, in healthy life, and also milk based on pleasure, both milk and the great campaign they did in the US for Coke, pleasure and legislation. Tolerance is more than a virtue. It's not to take anything that seriously. In some countries, in India, in Kerala, in Australia, and twice in the US, they had legislation against people who give negative messages about food. And there was actually a law that says that. In Kerala, they talked about fake health messages on social media, and the IMA decided to issue, because people stopped getting vaccines. So many psychological manipulation, that is in a law in Cordoba, deceitful publicity, unfaithful or commercial, the civil code and the criminal code. So in Argentina, milk is what poor people consume, is what's going to kill you, or that bread and flour, which is something that is mostly consumed among the low income communities, is going to kill you. And then there are state policies like the currency, safety, diplomacy, and the NASA. We should also have a food policy, as it was the case in 1938 by Dr. Pedro Escudero, where all the voices participated, and there was a dietary input. In that table, we had science, industry, health, social care, the industry, the businesses, and that's where long-lasting policies appeared and came up. It's easier to cheat people than convince them they have been cheated on. So now we have to tell people that they can eat flour that they have been cheated on.